What happens when trust between a human being and one of the most powerful creatures on the planet is broken? Today you will hear a story that not only challenges our view of the animal world, but also raises profound questions about ethics, freedom, and the price of entertainment. In this video we will take you on a dark journey where the life of a dedicated trainer and her relationship with a huge and unpredictable orca ends up turning into a tragedy that is impossible to ignore. We will talk about the dangers of captivity, the psychological impact on orcas, and the lessons we have learned, or rather that we must learn, from the death of Maris Ellington. Stay with us until the end, because what you're about to see here is not just an account of a devastating event, but a powerful reflection on the choices we make in the name of entertainment. Get ready to question everything you thought you knew about the connection between humans and animals. Before we dive into this story that will move you, tell me, where are you watching from? Put your city or country in the comments and share with us where you're from. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because we have an incredible new story waiting for you tomorrow, made especially for you. Don't miss it, because here on the channel, reflection and learning are always just a click away. 911. What's the emergency? The trainer is on the ground. The orca has grabbed the trainer. We need help now. It was supposed to be a flawless performance, a dazzling display of trust between human and animal, but something went terribly wrong. What began as a routine performance ended in an unimaginable tragedy. This is the story of Lara Sinclair, a respected orca trainer whose final moments left a permanent mark on the world of marine entertainment. Before we begin, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this story so we can continue bringing you impactful documentaries like this one. Let's dive into this story. Lara Sinclair wasn't just another marine mammal trainer. From childhood, she was enchanted by the ocean. While most children collected shells, Lara was memorizing the names of every species of whale and dolphin. She could imitate their cries by the age of 10. And at 16, she was already volunteering at the local aquarium cleaning tanks, taking notes and asking questions that no one else thought to ask. By the age of 24, she had earned a biology degree, with honors specializing in marine behavior. However, it was not her academic achievements that set her apart. It was her ability to connect with animals, to read them, to feel them. Her colleagues often said that she had a silent language with the orcas, the great black and white predators of the sea, which others treated with caution. They seemed to approach Lara, trust her, and respond to her in ways that surprised even veteran trainers. She was recruited by Magic Ocean Marine Park within a year of graduating. It was a dream come true, or so it seemed. Lara quickly rose through the ranks, becoming one of the park's most trusted orca trainers. Visitors remembered her by name. New trainers sought her out for guidance. She wasn't just a performer on stage. She was a protector, a voice, a silent advocate behind the scenes for better treatment and enrichment for the whales in her care. Lara believed in coexistence, that humans and these enormous predators could share a bond based on respect, not domination. She always said, "They don't work for us, we work together." But in the world of marine entertainment, not everything is as it seems on stage. Behind the smiles, behind the perfect jumps and synchronized waves, there are complex, intelligent, emotional, sometimes unpredictable creatures, and Lara knew this better than most. But on that day, even she could not predict what was to come. The Magic Ocean Marine Park was a monument to humanity's fascination with the sea. Built along the coast, occupying more than 60 acres of carefully designed enclosures, theaters, and artificial lakes, it attracted millions of visitors each year. The crown jewel of the park was the Orca show, an energetic and emotionally intense show featuring some of the largest predators ever held in captivity. Behind the imposing glass barriers and crashing waves, these orcas performed with impressive precision. They jumped, spun, and sprayed at just the right moment, creating awe in the eyes of children and wonder in the hearts of adults. But behind the applause was a long and complex history, one filled with beauty, but also with shadows. The Magic Ocean Orca program began more than 3 decades ago, in an era when capturing wild orcas was still legal in some parts of the world. The first shows were simple displays of power and obedience. Over time, the choreography became more elaborate. Trainers entered the water with the animals. They surfed on their dorsal fins, They kissed the whales on the nose. What the audience didn't see was the enormous psychological and physical pressure imposed on both humans and animals to maintain this illusion of harmony. Among the magic ocean orcas, one stood out. A huge 11,000-pound male named Thor. Captured off the coast of Iceland, while still a calf, Thor spent more than 20 years in captivity. At 7 meters long, he was an imposing presence. Muscular, with broad fins and deep scars on the sides from his battles for dominance with other males. Trainers described him as intelligent, temperamental, and unpredictable. Thor had been involved in several incidents. Moments when he did not respond to commands, showed signs of agitation, or displayed territorial behavior toward the pool staff. None of these incidents resulted in injury, but they were recorded. Noted, filed away in the park's internal reports. Reports that rarely left the park's internal records. Elaine Satterfield, a renowned marine biologist and former consultant to Magic Ocean, once said, "When you take an animal like an orca out of its natural environment, you're not just putting it in a tank, you're putting its mind in a box. And sometimes, it breaks." Despite the warnings, Thor remained a star. He drew crowds, he performed, and most importantly, he trusted Sophia, or at least he had until then. But in the weeks leading up to that day, something had changed. Thor began to float aimlessly on the surface. He was less responsive to trainers. He began to click his jaw more frequently, a known sign of agitation or dominance in orcas. The signs were subtle, but they were there. And on the morning of the attack, the surface of the water was calm, deceptively calm. No one knew that beneath it, something was boiling. February 17th. It was a sunny morning at Magic Ocean Marine Park. The air was filled with anticipation as visitors entered the amphitheater for the park's Orca Spectacular show. Behind the scenes, Serena Mackenzie prepared as she always did, going through her pre-show checklist, checking with the handlers, watching Thor through the glass as he slowly circled the presentation tank deliberately. At 11:46 a.m., Serena stepped onto the platform at the edge of the pool, her wet world closed-off hair tied back earpiece in place. The stadium erupted in applause as Thor leaped out of the water in a perfect arc, splashing the front row. It seemed like a typical performance. Smooth, rehearsed routine, but some details were off. Thor hesitated on 2 commands. He was slow to slide onto the platform. His tail slaps were more aggressive, creating deeper reverberations on the pool's surface. The trainers noticed this. Serena saw it. Still, she continued guiding him with well-rehearsed movements, reward signals, and calm body language. The bond between them, forged over a decade, was what made her confident, perhaps even overconfident. At 11:58 a.m., the routine reached a familiar sequence, a close contact maneuver, where Serena stood on a submerged platform, face-to-face with Thor. She extended her arm, a signal for a sideways swim. According to a witness sitting in Section B, she was signaling to the orca when suddenly everything changed. The whale dived below the surface, then rose again, but not in the right place. It was wrong. Without warning, Thor lunged forward. His jaws closed around Serena's arm, pulling her into the water with terrifying force. A scream erupted from the audience. Some thought it was part of the show. Others knew instantly that it wasn't. Underwater, a violent struggle began. Trainers at the edge of the pool rushed to activate emergency signals. Underwater tone generators were activated to interrupt and redirect the whale's attention. Thor ignored them. He kept Serena underwater, thrashing, turning, diving. Seconds turned into a minute turned into 2. Rescue protocols were initiated. The team rushed to close the pool's emergency doors to isolate Thor. Others threw nets and floating barriers into the water, trying to corral him. Still, he avoided them, surfacing briefly, before diving again with Serena still in his grip. A trainer tried to lure Thor away with fish and voice commands from the medical pool. He did not respond. At 12:03 p.m., the emergency dive team arrived, but protocol dictated that they could not enter the pool while the orca was still actively aggressive. They waited, helplessly watching as the water churned, and then grew calm. Finally, at 12:08 p.m., Thor released her The team removed Serena's body from the water. She was unresponsive. Paramedics attempted CPR at the poolside, while stunned visitors were removed from the stands. The children cried. The parents stood silently speechless. She was officially pronounced dead at 12:23 p.m. In less than 7 minutes, a celebrated career, a dedicated life, and a relationship built over 10 years came to a violent and irreversible end. What caused Thor to lose control? Was it stress? Was it instinct? Or was it something else? Something we still don't fully understand. What remained in the pool was silence and a question that would haunt Magic Ocean forever. In the hours following the incident, Magic Ocean went into immediate lockdown. Scheduled shows were cancelled. The amphitheater was cordoned off. A brief statement was released to the media shortly before sunset. We are deeply saddened to confirm the death of one of our most experienced and beloved trainers, Serena Mackenzie. Our thoughts are with her family, friends, and the entire Magic Ocean team at this devastating time. We are fully cooperating with authorities to investigate the incident. The park declined to answer follow-up questions. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, has launched an immediate investigation. Federal wildlife authorities have been contacted. Veterinarians began behavioral assessments of Thor, and hours of footage from shows were reviewed frame by frame. Internal records were examined. Reports of previous incidents involving Thor were pulled. Incidents the public had never known about. The autopsy report was completed within 48 hours. The findings were brutal. Serena Mackenzie had suffered extensive trauma, impact injuries to the chest, abdomen, and neck. Multiple fractured ribs, a dislocated shoulder, pulmonary hemorrhage. The ultimate cause of death was deemed drowning after prolonged submersion, but the coroner noted that even without the drowning, the internal trauma alone could have been fatal. The details leaked to the press within days, and once that happened, the public response was immediate and fierce. News outlets published headlines that took over the country. Orca kills veteran trainer. Tragedy at Magic Ocean. Killer whale turns deadly. Footage of the moments before the attack. Smiling children, Serena waving to the crowd, was replayed countless times. Commentators debated the ethics of animal performances. Former trainers spoke out. One told express.co.uk, "We had been warning about Thor for years. That whale was showing signs of stress. No one wanted to listen." Protests erupted outside the park entrance. Within days, animal rights groups called for the immediate release of all captive orcas. Social media exploded with hashtags such as "I Justice for Sophia, Die Free Thor," and "I Close the ETB Magical Ocean." Memorials were set up along the park gates. Flowers, photos, handwritten letters. Some mourned the loss of a trainer. Others demanded change. The debate was no longer just about a single incident. It had become a flashpoint for captivity, for animal rights, for how far we push the line between entertainment and exploitation. And amid it all, the question kept coming up. Could this have been prevented? And if so, why wasn't it? The tragedy of Serena Mackenzie was not just a singular event. It was part of a disturbing pattern, one that has haunted marine parks for decades. At the heart of the debate is a simple question. Should orcas, intelligent, social, and highly territorial predators, be kept in captivity? For years, the industry's answer was yes. The shows were safe. The whales were well cared for, the trainers were professionals, but the attack on Serena, like others before it, shattered the illusion. Just 10 years earlier, in 2010, trainer Rachel Martins was killed by a male orca named Levi. The incident was brutal and public. It led to a federal investigation, a devastating documentary, and a cultural clash. Rachel's death became a symbol of a system pushed to its limits. Now, a decade later, Serena's death has reignited the same questions and the same pain. Marine biologists have long warned about the psychological toll captivity takes on orcas. In the wild, these animals travel up to 160 kilometers a day. They hunt, socialize, and sing in dialects unique to their family groups. In tanks, their world is reduced to a few concrete walls, a strict feeding schedule, and a performance routine that barely scratches the surface of their mental and physical needs. A 2021 article in Wired quoted former trainers who described the orca environment as a pressure cooker. Stress, boredom, and social instability often lead to abnormal behavior, self-harm, aggression, among other whales, and in rare but devastating cases, attacks on humans. Captivity not only confines the orca's body, it alters its mind. Dr. Simone Davis, a marine behavior expert, said it clearly: "We underestimate them. Orcas remember, they grieve, they plan, they get bored, and when that happens, sometimes they react violently. Not because they're monsters, but because they're sentient beings." The parallels between Serena and Rachel's deaths were striking. Both were experienced, both were loved by their animals, and both were lost in facilities that had been warned of the potential danger and chose to continue. Complicating the situation further is the emotional bond that trainers form with these animals. They don't see them as ticking time bombs, they see them as partners, as family. Many trainers said they accept the risk willingly, but the public watching from the sidelines began to ask, should that risk even exist? At what point does entertainment cross the line into exploitation? The impact of Serena's death spurred a legislative movement. Petitions garnered millions of signatures. Lawmakers reopened stalled bills. The public conversation shifted from admiration to concern, from wonder to responsibility. Because when one of the ocean's greatest predators turns on the only person it trusted, we are forced to rethink everything we thought we knew about captivity, consent, and consequence. And as the glass of the tank reflected only silence, it became clear that this was never just about a show gone wrong. It was about a system based on fragile trust. And that trust finally broke. After tragedy, there are always echoes. For Magic Ocean, and for everyone who knew Serena Mackenzie, those echoes became impossible to ignore. Just weeks after the incident, the park announced the complete suspension of all performances with orcas. Trainers were transferred to land-based interactions only. Contact protocols were re-evaluated. Emergency procedures were rewritten from scratch. And while the change was seen by some as a belated correction, others saw it as an empty response too late to save Serena. But the changes continued. A new department was created to oversee the enrichment and mental stimulation of the orcas. Outside consultants, marine biologists, behaviorists, and even former critics of the park were invited to design safer and more ethical training programs. The Orca program, once the crown jewel of the Magic Ocean brand, was quietly scaled back. But Serena's legacy was not written in policies alone. Her family, devastated by their loss, chose to channel their grief into something lasting. The Serena Mackenzie Foundation was formed just 6 months after her death. Its mission was to support research on marine mammals, fund safety training for animal handlers, and advocate for responsible wildlife management. Scholarships were awarded to students pursuing careers in marine science. Donations began pouring in from around the world. Colleagues at Magic Ocean held a candlelight vigil beside the main tank. The trainers stood silently, their wetsuits zipped up, heads bowed. Flowers floated in the water, and Thor, the orca who took her life, circled, slowly, silently, beneath the surface. Friends and family described her not as a thrill-seeker, but as a caregiver, a listener, someone who believed that trust, even between species, was sacred. A former co-worker said she never treated the whales like tools. She talked to them as equals. That made her special. Another added, she wasn't naive about the risks, but she believed in the work. She believed in the connection. For many, the tragedy of her death could not be separated from the beauty of her life. A life driven by passion, grounded in compassion, dedicated to the beings she loved. Serena Mackenzie's story ended in violence, but her legacy lives on in every conversation, sparked by her death, in every policy, reformed in every young scientist inspired, and in every orca somewhere gaining a little more space to live as nature intended. Serena Mackenzie's story is a grim reminder of the complex relationship between humans and the wild. It is a story of passion of a woman who gave everything for the beings she loved. But it is also a story of power, confinement, and the delicate line between trust and danger. Her death forced a global conversation not just about orcas in captivity, but about the choices we make in the name of entertainment, about the cages we build not just with steel and concrete, but but with ignorance, profit, and pride? Can a true connection exist in a space built on control? Can we claim to love an animal and yet deny it the freedom that defines its nature? These are not easy questions, but they are necessary ones. As parks begin to evolve and policies begin to change, one thing is clear. Serena did not die in vain. Her story inspired a deeper look at how we treat animals in our care. She spurred reform, raised awareness, and brought compassion to the forefront. But the work is not done. If Serena's story touched you, made you pause, reflect or question, let that be the beginning. Support marine conservation. Educate yourself about the realities of captivity. Share stories like hers. Speak up for those who can't. Because behind every performance, behind every glass wall, there is a story. And sometimes it ends in silence. Thank you for watching. If you found this story meaningful, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support helps us continue telling the stories that matter, the ones that are too important to forget. So what did you think of this story? If this journey made you reflect on the complex relationship between humans and animals, then be sure to check out other videos on our channel where we explore even more profound and moving stories like this. 1. Don't forget to like, share, and of course leave a comment with your insightful opinion. We want to hear what you think about this important topic. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content that will make you question and think. See you next time, and remember, change begins with our reflection.